Welcome to the Clarity Challenge. The Clarity Challenge is a 52-day journey that is challenging and difficult. However, it's a fulfilling process. I always tell participants, if you can commit one day at a time for 52 days, the results that you are going to get from the Clarity Challenge, they're going to change your life and your relationship permanently. As a matter of fact, the Clarity Challenge is a reality show that will change the way you think permanently. And so today during our class, we had what I call tricky questions. Our conversation started today with tricky questions. Tricky questions are questions we put together. We ask questions, different questions that are designed to achieve the same purpose, different questions, different contents, different body, but the answers are expected to be the same. But if you're not careful, you're going to mix up stuff, especially if you are not someone that is decisive, that is intentional, that has made up your mind about what it is that you want to do with your life and with your relationship. I always told them, ladies, and when you want to know whether or not a guy is deceiving you, and of course it applies to them guys too. When you want to know whether or not a lady is deceiving you, it's simple. What you're going to do is ask them the same question, but ask them that question in different ways at different times, and you will realize that their answers will be changing. Next, I also tell them, ladies, that if you want to know whether a guy has conviction about what it is that he is saying, because sometimes talk can be cheap. People can be sugar-coated in their tongues. People can want to sway you, slip you down the floor with words, ambiguous words, promises that they aren't going to fulfill any day, anytime soon. And so if you want to know whether they are people, individuals of conviction or not, it's the same thing. Ask them the same question in a different way and at different times. You realize that they'll be fumbling and they will be wobbling in their answers. That's why I always say you can't deceive an intelligent and an intentional woman with sweet words. You can't do that. Because the woman knows how to find out where you're coming from. She knows how to find out where you're going by asking you simple, tricky questions. And so today in class, we had them 2 questions, and then we saw people respond to those questions. And what I was sharing with you a second ago was so evident, gray areas. The first question we asked today in class was, what's the biggest goal you're working on right now? The second question we asked today in class was, if you won the lottery tomorrow, what will be the first thing you will do with the money? Why did I ask this question? I asked this question very intentionally. I asked it because I wanted the ladies that are in the house, who are in relationships, to see the extent to which their men, their partners, prioritize the relationship and then prioritized the consummation of the relationship. And so we began to see them answers. Not forgetting that most men, oftentimes, some men have the tendency to keep a woman waiting indefinitely. They could make you the Lord of the Ring. I realized that engagement rings are becoming baits from men for women. They get you an engagement ring, give you the impression that it is to get you married that they're coming for. And so you think they're sincere, so you get them rings, you take their rings from them, and then now you're in a relationship forever, and making no effort to consummate that relationship. Some other times, when they've kept you waiting for 3 years, for 4 years, for 5 years, when it is time for them to come settle down, you realize at that time they are making a choice of a different person. Why? And after all, they've gotten whatever it is that they're looking for. After all, in some cases, once you've gotten the milk, what's the need of going to pay for the cow? The milk is always there. And so you want to be intentional with what you're doing. You want to be intentional what you're doing. Some men want to keep you waiting as they go conquer the world, only to come back and realize that you're no longer the best for them. And so when I realized the responses on the platform, there was a response that indicated that I saw that somebody was like, my biggest plan right now is to get a job, is to set up this business, is to plan this, is to plan that. Wow. Okay, so if you won the lottery tomorrow, what will be the first thing you're going to do? I'm going to set up business, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I'm like, for crying out loud, your biggest plan, you didn't say nothing about your lady. You won the lottery, you didn't say nothing about taking her to the altar. So where does she come in your skill? Where does she come in your prioritization? Where does she come in your plans? This is so important. It's so important because if a guy has kept you engaged or dated you or in courtship for 3 years already, and now you're asking him, what's your plan? What's the biggest goal you're working on? If you win the lottery today, what will you be intending to do with the money? What's your plan in the next 5 years? After using up 3 years of your life and he tells you about his plan for another 5 years and you are not in the picture, are you that daft that you cannot realize that this person is not factoring you in his plan? This lady is not factoring you in our plan. This is so profound. This is so important. You have to ask technical questions. You have to ask intelligible questions. Because like we say in the Clarity Challenge, it is the quality of the questions you ask that define the quality of the answers you get. So you can't go out there and be asking yes and no questions. You can't go out there and be asking irrelevant questions. You can't go out there and be asking questions that does not help you define what it is that are your plans, what it is that are your short-term, medium-term, and long-term plans. The next tricky question we looked at today was, we said, okay, what is a no-go for you? Then we asked another question, we says, what is enough reason to discontinue the relationship? Then we asked another question, we said, will calling off this relationship ever be an option? We asked these 3 questions, and these 3 questions were asked very intentionally. And some of our couples fell again for it. Imagine that somebody is saying, will calling off this relationship ever be an option? And every one of them said, no, it will never be an option. And then you ask the same person, what is enough reason to discontinue this relationship? And then they began to download things that could happen that could make them discontinue the relationship. And I'm like, I don't get it. You said calling off this relationship is not an option. Now you're saying if this or that happened, then you're going to discontinue the relationship. In fact, somebody says, I'm going to discontinue this relationship if he says I'm not good enough. First of all, it's enough concern for me that you said quitting the relationship is not an option. Now you are giving a reason why you could leave. Then the greater worry is how flimsy the reason is. If he says I'm not good enough, excuse me? In the midst of an argument, somebody can say this and not mean it. And so this cannot be a reason to say that you're going to quit, even if he means it. No, that's not enough reason to quit. And so it's so important that we're persons of conviction. If you're going and what we do in our day and time is that oftentimes, most of us, even by the time we're going into a relationship, we have already penciled down If this happens, I'm checking out. If that happens, I'm checking out. I'm not going to take this. I'm not going to take that shit. I'm not going to take that shit. Excuse me. Anybody who is not going to take no shit from nobody should not get married, because in marriage, it's about taking shit from people. Marriage is about two people staying together, solving little problems and big problems, and then still finding more reasons why they should remain together. Listen, it's so important that we come to terms with the fact that, for somebody said, and I can't remember the exact person, but somebody said, for any marriage that is 7 days old, any marriage that is 7 days old, there are enough grounds for divorce. Therefore, if you are looking for grounds for divorce, you're going to get them in thousands. What we should be doing, the person said, is to be looking for more grounds to remain together. Whatever you're looking for, you will find. So if you're focused on looking for the grounds to stay together, then you're going to find grounds to stay together. But if you're looking for grounds to get apart, then you're going to find enough grounds to get apart. You better make up your mind before you go into marriage. This is so important that we have people of conviction, people of persuasion, people that have core values, people that have their priorities put where it ought to be. Listen, in this relationship, your partner will offend you again and again. Listen, offending you is going to happen. Offending you, not necessarily intentional, but not understanding where you're coming from, not understanding why you said what you said, not understanding where you're going, not even noticing that you're on the way, and then they just hit you, and something is going to happen that you might even think they did intentionally if you are not mature enough to realize that probably your partner couldn't have intentionally done that. And so to now have these intentional openings and possibilities for saying, oh, I'm not going to do this no more, if that happens, then trust me, you're not set for a relationship. The long and short of this is this. You want to ask these kind of questions to be sure that your partner is in this with you. You want to ask these kind of questions to reinforce their positions. You want to ask these kind of questions to be sure what they're thinking, to be sure where they're coming from, to be sure what their plans are, to be sure that you guys are in agreement. Never forget, no two people can work together unless they be agreed. I hope you got some value. Thank you for your attention. I'll see you again.